you do have to kind of look, if there's somebody you really want and they're 30 spots away, well, all it takes is somebody in the next 23 picks to reach 10 spots instead of you reaching 30 at that point.
Like, let's rant on that a little bit, and like the immaturity of humans that actually still snake draft and think that's fucking cool. Like the loveless marriage, the job you've had for a decade that makes you want to kill yourself. That's snake drafting.
Yes.
And auctions are just fun. Every player is available to you, because you could join 6 snake drafts and not have access to the top 3 players. Because it's random.
Exactly.
Picks. And you'll never own, whoever's number 1 that year. And you're just not going to get him. I mean, you can be a Yankee fan and be like, I'm getting Soto. Not if you get the 8th pick in every draft.
Right.
Or something like that.
But if you're in an auction, you get them.
Yeah, you can get them, and you can overspend. And even though it's not smart to do it, if you really, really want them, you can get them. And the thing is, maybe your strategy is right. Baseball's a lot more spread out. Yeah. And it applies to baseball too, but in football you have these like outlier, you have these tiers of like, maybe there's 2 or 3 stud receivers, and you might not be able to get them if you have the 10th or 12th pick in a league. Auction, you can just make sure you get one of those guys. If that's your strategy and that's what you think is going to make your team succeed and win, give you that stable base. Yeah. You get it, you have it, and you can build from there. And, the snake draft stuff, it's weird to me, because I tricked the best ball league. For those of you who don't know what best ball is, it's basically like you just draft and it auto sets your roster. Every week, the highest scoring players on your roster, whether on your bench, doesn't matter. They are your point getters on those positions. Yeah. Basic way to describe it. And there's one guy, again, in this guy Todd's league, a friend of ours. He won't do auction. I cannot talk the league into doing auction in that league because of him mainly. Like, it drives me nuts. And I told him about the best ball league. He's like, oh, that sounds fun, I'll do it. I did not tell him it was an auction. I let him assume it was a snake draft. So we get to the draft, I already have his $100 entry. And then he's like, whoa, wait, what, this is an auction, bro? And I'm like, yeah, good luck. And then 20 minutes into it, he's like, text me, this is actually pretty fucking fun. And I'm like, yeah, it's awesome, actually. And then we're at the end of it, and he was like, that was amazing. That was like so much fun. I need to be in auction leagues. And I'm like, I've been telling you for like 6 years, and some people just don't let go of it. I think people don't like the change, whatever you want to talk about. It's like call it their brains hardening, or just stubborn, stupid people. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, Bill Simmons always calls it chess versus checkers.
Yeah. But 100%.
It is, but it's also like, it's more fun because you can get the players that you want to root for. You know what I mean? Right. Like, you can put together the team that you think is going to be best. You can also, if there's that guy that you really want, you can get him. Mm-hmm. We did that dynasty league that didn't survive, but I really wanted Mike Trout. I'm like, it's a dynasty league. I want Mike Trout. Yeah. And me and our friend Jeff were just bidding. And I was like, I don't care what it takes. I'm going to get him. Right. And, and it's just like, if I'm going to, and the league didn't survive, but the thought process was, if I'm going to have this player for his whole career, or the rest, the next 5-10 years or whatever, as long as we can, we can keep him forever. So as long as he stays good, he'll be on my team. I want the best player in baseball. And I just made sure I got him. And I had to, if you do that, as long as you know enough of what you're doing to be able to, recoup those costs somewhere, right. So instead of spending $50 on 2 players, I'm going to have to spend $70 on Trout and $30 on someone else. Yeah, exactly. And just be able to have confidence that I can get somebody that I think is a good enough value to make up for that price difference.
Yeah, 100%. And it allows you, if you're self-aware at all, it allows you to play to your strengths and your weaknesses. If you don't pay attention to the waiver wire, Panda, aka Justin Ma, like if you don't pay attention to waiver wires, you don't want to draft like studs and scrubs. Right? Like, you don't want to go like top heavy on talent and then have to figure out and work at filling your roster through the waivers. if you do, like you and me, we pay attention like in fantasy like every week, and it's tedious, but it gives you a huge edge because a huge percentage of your league will not pay attention to the waiver wires all the time.
Yeah.
And that gives you free guys. And if you can roster in baseball, a few guys that help fill in those holes, especially in deeper leagues, that you don't have to have the biggest breakout guy to have it be a league winner. It could be 5 guys. And so we can, like, if we're drafting our team in this 12 team league, we can leave ourselves a little vulnerable on the bottom end of some of our roster spots because we know we're going to just tediously look at the waiver wires every single week and we have a small edge there. But if we were lazy, we'd be like, hey, you know what? Maybe we should not spend more than X amount on our top player and really like give ourselves a stable base on our roster to give ourselves a chance to like make the playoffs or cash or whatever it might be.
Yeah. And yeah, I know you were going to bring up this point, but the other thing that you and I like to do, and again, because we feel that we can cover it, is we'll draft an injured players. You know, our league is a keeper league, so that makes a big difference. But even, you know, if it had worked out 2 years ago, Fernando Tatis was missing half the season. If he didn't, you know, roid up, then it would have been a good value.
If he didn't do drugs,
But like, if you feel that you can, you know, you can sort of cover the bases for half the season and then get that guy for the second half of the season, you can really make up a lot of grounds by getting that guy that's going to be missing time. And if you're in a keeper league, you know, paying attention to the guy that is injured now but is going to be fine next year, then you get a big advantage next year. In our league, there's no real detriment. You don't have a necessarily a limit on your people, non-active players.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like there's any kind of real roster cap. There's only a cap on the number of active players you can have. So that gives us a benefit in that range. But also it's just, even in a regular league, you can still grab that one guy, you know, hopefully you have at least one IL spot, and you're going to get a huge value either later this year or next year. So always, you know, thinking into the future.
Right, exactly. Because whether it's snake draft, for the children out there, your late picks, like your last 5 picks or whatever, these are not make or breaking anything, right? Like if you can figure out a $1 guy that's going to come back in July, or $3 guy, or in auctions, or just a late round pick, especially keepers like we did with Salvador Perez, right?
Yeah.
It's a 12-team league, one catcher. We were on the strategy line that we weren't going to spend a lot of money on a catcher. We never do. We always just find someone that we think's going to be kind of solid that's cheap. So what we do is that we drafted a $1 Sal Perez. He was missing the whole year. We're going to have him for 2 more years at $1, which ended up being huge. He broke the home run record for catchers one of those years. And then what we did is we just IL him, and then we pick up the 13th or best catcher or 12th best catcher or whatever. Maybe someone draft 2 catchers. We get the 14th best catcher, which isn't any different than like the 9th best catcher. Right. So we lost nothing in getting a $1 keeper in Sal Perez, and he was a stud. So thinking,
and sometimes I was gonna say, sometimes you get lucky too, and sometimes you get almost by accident, you get a guy who, you know, has his breakout season, which has happened to us more than once. But even last year, like we drafted Trevor Story thinking, okay, we'll have a $1 Trevor Story next year. Right. And we had Hae-Sung Kim, who had an amazing year.
Story. Yeah. We did that with Story instead of catcher position. We're like, let's just, because in this league it's deep, so we're going to have 4 or 5 $1 players anyways. So we're like, let's do Story, let's pick up someone off waiver. And then Kim ended up being huge, and was one of the main reasons we actually had good success, because he gave us all the we really needed stolen bases, and that's what he gave us. Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways that can go well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so you're thinking in the future, and sometimes you end up getting a little lucky, and it helps you in the present too. It's sort of like you're set for now and you're set for later.
Yep, exactly. And now we're in a spot where we're actually trying to figure out if we want to keep Kim or Story.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? We're like, who's better, and they're both good values. So
yeah, exactly.